Hi, this is Tariq Jamal, and we are here to present Grammar 2 for Unit 2, Book 4. So, I would like to request all of you to pay full attention to this lecture so that you guys can understand the grammar for Unit 2. Well, we have already completed Grammar 1, right? Which was our past tense, and now we are doing Grammar 2. So, what you need to know: what are stative and non-action verbs, right? What is a base verb? What is a vowel? What is a consonant? So, what are we going to study today? How verbs change in the simple present because of subject, when to use the simple present tense, positive and negative sentences, yes and no, and WH questions. And then of course we will have some exercises as well. So after after few slides, we'll have some exercise that you guys will be doing that will help you to understand it better because that will give you a practice. All right, so let's move on. So how to use the simple present for the subjects I, you, we, they. Use the base verb, right? And remember, what is a base verb? A base verb is a verb with no changes. It means there's no s, there's no ed, there's no ing. For subjects he, she, it. So he, she, it, we call them like third person, all right? So always remember, whenever we have he, she, it, we just add s to the base verb, all right? He, she, it, add s to the base verb. In the negative form, the verb that comes after don't slash doesn't is always base, all right? So if we are using it in negative, remember if we are using don't or doesn't, don't for I, we, right? You, and doesn't we use it for he, she, it, right? Remember we use does for he, she, it for positive. For negative, we do it doesn't. And of course, we will show you as we progress. And then what we do, we use base verb, all right? So in the negative form, the verb that comes after don't and doesn't is always base verb. Remember that. All right, so how to use the simple present? So this is just a chart that will tell you how to use them in your sentences, right? So if you look at the chart for subjects I, you, we, they, we have play for positive, right? Play, eat, live, read. Negative, don't play, don't eat, don't live, don't read, right? For subjects he, she, it, plays, eats, lives, reads, right? For positive, we are only adding s, right? Because it is he, she, it. And for the negative, we're using doesn't play, doesn't eat, doesn't live, doesn't read. So just look now. So what did we say in the previous slide? That if we are using doesn't and then we use the base verb, right? See, he doesn't play. We're not saying plays now. He plays. Negative, he doesn't play. And then we have some other sentences there for you guys to have a look. So now what I want you all to do, I want you all to take 2 minutes of your time and read this chart. Read it to yourself, understand it, take notes, and just try to understand how it is working. What are we exactly doing? So please go ahead and take a look at it for next 2 to 3 minutes, and then we'll move on to the next slide. All right, guys, we are going to move on to the next slide here. So, this is your practice. Complete the sentence with the correct simple present verb. So, this is what exactly we have went through in the previous slides, right? A couple of slides, we have talked about it. We have showed you examples as well. So now it's your turn to do this. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to complete this exercise, and then we will check how did you guys do. All right, let's move on to check how did you guys do. All right, so let's check your answers. He plays baseball, right? She eats steak. She dances well. She sings well. He doesn't play baseball, right? She doesn't eat steak. She doesn't dance well. She doesn't sing well. Okay? So remember this. All we did for the positive, we added S. And then for the negative, we just did doesn't, right? Because he, she, it always doesn't, right? For the negative. And then the base verb, correct? We just leave the base verb as it is. All right, let's move on here. So the spelling rules. For subjects, he, she, it, add S to the base verb, but there are two spelling rules to remember. Okay, so I'm going to read it and then explain it to you guys, and then I will leave the slide here for you guys to understand and go through it so that you guys can have a complete understanding for this spelling rules. Once again, remember, he, she, it, add S to the base verb, right? We know that. He, she, it, just add S. Now, if the base verb ends in a consonant plus y, change y to I, add es. Okay, so we all know by now what is a consonant, right? And what are vowels, correct? So here we are just talking about consonant right now. So if the base verb ends in a consonant plus y, we are going to change y, meaning we are going to replace y, we are going to delete y, okay? We are going to take away y, we're not going to leave it there anymore. And we will change it to I, es, right? I and then add es. The examples are right there, which you guys will go through it to yourself after I explain you the next one. Now, if the base verb ends in s, sh, chx, add es to the base verb. Okay? If it ends in s, sh, chx, add es to the base verb. If the verb ends in a vowel plus y, right? And what are the vowels? You guys should know that, right? And I'm going to tell you for this time. A, E, I, O, U, right? Remember that. So if the verb ends in a vowel plus y, only add s. Okay? So examples are right there. Play, add s, place, B-E-Y, right? Vowel, U, buys, enjoy, J-O-Y, right? Just add s. All right, so I'm going to leave the slide here now for you guys to just go through these words that we have here so that you understand how do we work for our spelling rules, okay? So I will leave it here for a couple of minutes so that you guys can get a complete understanding of the spelling rules. All right, guys, so we are going to move on to the next slide here. And I really hope that you guys have gone through this slide very well because this is important because you guys will be tested on it. So this is your grammar, right? So you will see these kind of questions in your grammar, which is in your lab exam, all right? Okay, so let's move on. So let's practice again. Complete the sentence with the correct simple present verb. Okay, so you know it now because we have gone through it. So what I'm going to do now, actually, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the slide, and we'll let you guys have a look one more time, and then we'll come back to the slide, and you guys can take 2 minutes to complete this exercise. So let's have a look in our previous slide. Okay, just take a minute, please. Understand, because this is what exactly you're going to do in next slide. All right, now, so take 2 minutes to complete this exercise on your own, and your time starts now. All right, so let's check your answers now. Okay, here you go. I just want you all to match your answers with this one. If you guys have done this correctly, well done. And if you have made one or two mistakes, then just go through the slides, go through the presentation that we are doing, especially the rules of spelling and the one that we just did now. I want you all to understand this presentation so that you guys can do these exercises. As I said earlier, that these things will be in your test. So I really want you all to understand this. All right, so let's move on. Okay, so irregular verbs, right? Be and have are irregular verbs. They don't follow the same rules for simple present. So be a verb in simple present, right? So just look at the chart here. So I am, right? Positive. The negative, am not. You are, you are not, or you aren't. This is how you can write. You can use contractions. Then he, she, it, is, negative is not, right? So remember, he, she, it, is. I am. You are, we are, they are. I want you all to just go through this chart and understand it. And also the one at the bottom, I, you, we, they, have, don't have, he, she, it, has, doesn't have. Doesn't have is the negative, right? And positive is has. He, she, it, has. Remember that he has. He has a phone, okay? So now, with this much being said, I want you all to just go through this, all right? And I will leave this idea for 2 minutes. Just go through it, read it, and understand it. All right, so I will leave it actually for 3 minutes for you guys to understand this concept here. All right, guys, so now we are going to move on to the next slide. Before we move on, I want to make sure that you guys have gone through this and understood it. This is very, very important. All right, let's move on here. So when do we use the simple present tense? We use the simple present to talk about something that is a habit or a routine, something that happens again and again. Okay? So remember, we use the simple present to talk about something that is a habit. Okay? It goes on, it's a routine. All right? Something that happens again and again. It happened in the past and will continue to happen in the future. Remember that. So simple present tense, something that has happened in the past and will continue to happen in the future. Look at the example here. He always smiles, right? So it happened in the past and it is continuing, right? Example of simple present tense. He rides a bicycle, right? So look, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the whole days of the week, right? Each and every day. So he rides a bicycle 3 times a week. So it's Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, right? He, she, okay, goes swimming, plays volleyball, right? So this is just a chart that you guys can go through it for a few seconds and then we'll move on to the next slide. All right, let's move on. So, okay, let's practice simple present. Okay, so I want you all to do that on your own right now, based on what you have noticed in the previous slide, and then we'll move on to the next one to check how did you guys do. So I will leave it here for a couple of minutes so that you guys can um, come up with some sentences. All right, I will leave the slide here for 2 minutes. All right, let's move on. So look, she goes skiing, right? She goes skiing twice a year. All right. We also use the simple present to tell facts. So what we have in the slide here is a fact, right? I am 30 years old, right? Most Saudi students study English in high school. So these are facts. This is something that we know. So I just want you all to go through that slide for a minute. Just read the sentences. There are like 5 sentences. Just read it for within 30 or 40 seconds, and then we'll move on. All right, guys, let's move on here. So we also use the simple present with stative verbs, right? So stative verbs are not actions. Stative verbs are things that we are, feel, or think. Okay? So it's not an action. So action means something is happening, you're doing something, right? But static verbs are not action. It's rather it is a statement, right? It's just stating something. So it's telling you that what you are, who you are, how do you feel, right? How do you think? What do you think, right? So they're not actions that we can stop doing. So examples: be, have, know, understand, like, right? And then we have prefer, need, and want. So in the present tense, static verbs must be written in simple present, not present continuous. Okay? So remember, in the present tense, static verbs must be written in simple present, not present continuous. So present continuous is what? Is ing, right? We add ing on present continuous. So we are not gonna do that in present tense when we are writing stating verbs, right? So look at the left hand side and the right hand side. The left hand side, the examples on the left hand side, good. and the one in the right hand side is present continuous, which is not good. It's bad. We are not going to take that. So I am a man. I have an iPhone, right? I know the answer. So please now just go through this slide on your own for a minute. Read both the left hand side and the right hand side, all right? And after that, we will go to the next slide. All right, now guys, we are going to move on here to the next slide. Okay, so here is a list of common verbs that have stative meaning. So this is a chart that you can understand on your own. So I want you all to just read it and understand it. Read the whole slides, okay? Go through it right now for next couple of minutes, and I will leave the slide here for at least 2.5 minutes so that you guys can understand what exactly we're doing. All right, guys, let's move on here. Okay, so complete the sentences with the correct simple present verb. So this is your practice exercise. You have 5 questions there. I want you all to take just a minute to complete this, please. Alright guys, now let's check your answers. The chair belongs to him, right? Because it's singular. So we are going to put S. I think about pizza, right? The weatherman knows. Now I remember the story. We want to see the snow now, right? Yes, no questions in the simple present. In simple present questions, we change do, does, but the main verb is always base. Remember that. In the simple present questions, we can change do slash does, right? But the main verb is always base. So let's look. Yes, no questions. Do, does, plus subject plus base verb, all right? Do you study English? Okay. So you, right? So do you study English? Now we're talking about third person, the second one I'm talking about, all right? Does he play Call of Duty? So third person, remember he, she, it, we use does, right? For questions as well. And of course, when we talk about in the negative or in the positive, like does he play football? He does, right? So now, does he play Call of Duty? So that's how we do the questions for third person. Answers to yes, no questions. Yes, right? You will say yes, and then the subject plus do or does, right? So again, do for, so do you study English? Yes, I do. So do is for I, right? I, you, correct? And does he play Call of Duty? Yes, he does, right? So remember, he, she, it does. I, you, we do, right? Negative, no, I don't. No, he doesn't. Yes, no questions with be verbs, no, do, does, right? Be, then the subject, yes, subject plus be, no, subject plus be plus not. No means negative, right? So are you happy? Yes, I am. No, I am not. Is he a teacher? Yes, he is. No, he isn't. Are they old? Yes, they are. No, they aren't, right? So now I want you all to go through the slide for a minute, and then also I want you all to think about few questions that you can make on your own. So try to make at least a couple of questions just like the one that we have here, so that you understand how to create questions, and then at the same time try to answer those as well. So let's take 2.5 minutes to get this done for you guys to have a look at this slide, and then think about some questions and also how can you answer those. All right, so let's take 3 minutes for this one. Alright guys, now we are going to move on to the next slide here. So let's practice. There are only 3 questions. It should not take more than 30 seconds to do that. So please try to get this done. Alright, let's check. Okay, so do you eat corn, right? Do you like chocolate? Do you cook best? Simple, right? We just use the base verb, right? WH questions. The WH plus do slash does plus subject plus base verb, right? What do you study? When does she eat breakfast? I study English. She eats breakfast at 7, right? So you get the question. What do you study, right? So you're asking a question to someone. What do you study? And then he is answering that I study English, right? So now think if we change the question, let's say, for example, what does he study, right? So if we say what does, and then we say instead of you, we say he, and then look, the base verb doesn't change, right? What does he study? Because we have does, so the base verb will remain the way it is. And then he will, if he answers it, then he will say I study English. But if someone else answers it, like if I'm answering it for Muhammad, then I would say he studies English. Muhammad studies English, right? When does she eat breakfast? She eats breakfast at 7. Okay? All right, let's move on. Okay, so there are some more questions for you guys to practice. There are 6 questions, right? So take maybe 3.5 minutes to get this done, please. And of course, we will check your answer after that. Okay, your time starts now. Alright guys, let's check your answers here. Okay, so what do I eat? I eat vegetables, right? Where do you study? I study at the library. When does she sleep, right? Does, then the base verb as it is, right? She sleeps at night. Why does he play? He plays for exercise. Who do they like? They like Albert Einstein. How does it work? It works with internet, right? Remember, when you answer with he, she, it, we just add s, right? So it works with internet. So now please go ahead and check your answers. If you guys had the same answer, then of course it is such a good thing. And if not, then still it's alright as long as you guys practice, okay? So if you have made few mistakes, don't worry about it. Just go through your presentation, go through your rules, and it should be okay. So we'll just leave it here for a few more seconds so that you guys can match your answers. All right, we're moving on here. So let's review simple present tense, right? What are the three ways we use the simple present tense in English? What do we have to do when the subject is he, she, it? How do we make a question if the verb is be? What if the verb is not be? How do we make a negative with be? How do we make a negative with other verbs, right? And this is something that we have done already in our presentation, correct? So you should know that. So I want you all to just think to yourself, try to come up with all these answers that we have here. There are four questions, right? So just think that what are the three ways we use the simple present tense in English, right? What do we have to do when the subject is he, she, it? How do we make a question if the verb is be? What if the verb is not be, right? How do we make a negative with be? How do we make a negative with other verbs, right? So just think for a minute, and then of course we will look at the answer together. So I'll just leave it here for a couple of minutes for you guys to just think on your head, all right? All right, let's move on. Okay, so what are the three ways we use the simple present tense in English? Use it to talk about repeated or habitual actions, right? Use it to talk about general facts. Use it with non-action, steady verbs, right? What do we have to do when the subject is he, she, it? Remember, we add s or es, right? That is plays, right? Play, plays, go, goes. How do we make a question if the verb is be? What if the verb is not be? Am is are plus subject, right? WH plus am is are plus subject. That is, which is the example. Are you awake? Where are you? Right? So I want you all to just go through this answers here for a few seconds and then we'll move on. Just try to get an idea, all right? All right, let's move on. Okay, so this is a quiz time for you guys. We have 6 questions here, and I want to give you guys 3.5 minutes to get this done. And once you guys are done, then we will check the answers, all right? Okay, so your time starts now. All right, so let's move on to check your answers, all right? Okay, so number 1, I always eat cereal for breakfast, correct? So I eat, right? We don't add S to I. We add S to he, she, it. Remember that. My brother fixes computers for his job. So brother is the third person, right? So that's why we are adding es to it. So it's a question. Blank healthy food, right? She eats. So she eats. Is, then this is a sentence, right? This is a statement. It's not a question. So our options that we have here, B, C, or D, right? So now which is the correct one? So does you eat? So we know that. What did we learn? That does, we use does with he, she, it, right? So not with you. So now the options C and D. Okay, so what's wrong with D? What did we learn? That if we have does, then the base verb remains the way it is, right? We don't add s to it. So our best option is C. Does she eat healthy food? Okay, number 4. When do they study English? They study at 8, right? So when does? No. Do they? They do, because that's not a question anymore, right? So when do they? Because we are talking about time. Study at 8. Teachers, right? Plural, correct? So the best option is C, try. Teachers try very hard to help their students learn. I don't. Remember, I, we, you, they don't, right? I don't have any homework tonight, so I can relax and have fun. So with this, we are actually done with our presentation, and I hope that you guys have understood it. And I would like to remind you guys that please practice, go back and look at the presentation, do the exercises one more time, and just get the best out of this exercises and the quiz that we have done in this presentation, and of course all those rules and uh, facts that we have in this presentation. Just please go through it. I really want to thank you all for your time. You all have a good day.